Commander Jake Morrison stood in front of the main display screen on the bridge of the UES Meridian and felt his stomach drop. The holographic star map floating before him showed something that should not exist. There was a hole in space, a perfect sphere of nothing sitting right where dozens of star systems should be. The hole was exactly 50 light-years across, and it sat in what every alien database said was supposed to be one of the busiest parts of the galaxy. He had seen this map 1,000 times before, but today something felt different. Today the empty space seemed to stare back at him like a giant eye watching from the darkness. Jake rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the data again. The readings were the same as always. Every alien species they had ever met showed the same thing on their maps: a blank spot, a void. Nothing. Lieutenant Amy Brooks walked up beside him carrying a datapad in her hands. Amy was the ship's expert on alien cultures, and she had been studying this mystery for 3 months. Her brown hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her face showed the strain of too many sleepless nights spent reading alien documents. "Commander, I finished going through all the files from the Galactic Archive," she said, while handing him the pad. "I found something strange. Every species has records that stop at the exact same boundary. The Zephyrians have detailed maps of everything except this region. The Korath Empire has surveyed data that ends right at the edge. Even the ancient Veil Builders left records that have this same empty space." Jake took the pad and scrolled through the information. Page after page of alien documents all showed the same pattern. Detailed star charts, trade routes, colony records, everything except for one perfect sphere of missing data. It was as if every species in the galaxy had agreed to ignore this one spot in space. "How is that possible?" Jake asked. 50 light years is a huge area. There should be hundreds of stars in there, planets, maybe even civilizations. But every alien map shows nothing. Amy shook her head. "That's not even the strangest part. I tried to cross-reference human exploration records with alien databases. According to our files, we have never been to this region either. But look at this." She touched the screen and brought up a human star chart. The same empty space appeared on their map too. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. How could humans, who had explored thousands of star systems, have the same blank spot as every alien species? Dr. Helen Carter approached them from the science station. Helen was a small woman with gray hair and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. She had been the ship's chief scientist for over 10 years, and Jake trusted her judgment more than anyone else on the crew. "I have been running scans of the boundary region," Helen said in her quiet voice. "The energy readings are very unusual. There is definitely something there, but my instruments cannot get a clear picture. It is like trying to look through fog that keeps shifting." Jake studied the data Helen showed him. The quantum signatures were unlike anything he had seen before. The energy patterns suggested advanced technology, but there was something familiar about them that he could not identify. The readings reminded him of human technology, but that was impossible. Humans did not have the ability to hide entire star systems. "What about our navigation systems?" Jake asked. "Can we plot a course into the region?" Helen nodded slowly. "Yes, but that is another strange thing. Our human-built systems work fine for plotting courses into that area, but every piece of alien technology on our ship stops working when I try to scan deeper into the zone. The Korath sensors show error messages. The Zephyrian computers crash. Even our translation programs stop functioning properly when they try to process data from that region." Jake walked over to the main display and touched the edge of the blank area on the map. The surface felt cold under his fingertips, even though he knew it was just a hologram. Something about this mystery felt personal, as if it was connected to him in a way he did not understand. Captain Lisa Grant joined them at the display. Lisa was Jake's second in command, and one of the best tactical officers in the human fleet. She had short blonde hair and blue eyes that could read a battle situation faster than any computer. Today, those eyes looked worried. I have been monitoring communications from the other human ships in this sector, Lisa said. 3 other vessels have reported the same readings we are getting. The blank spot is showing up on everyone's sensors, but no one has orders to investigate it. Fleet Command seems to be avoiding the subject entirely. Jake felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in his mind, but the picture they formed made no sense. Every species in the galaxy had the same blind spot in their maps. Human technology worked fine in the area, but alien technology failed. Fleet Command was avoiding the topic. It was as if someone wanted to keep this region hidden from the rest of the galaxy. Amy, check our crew records, Jake ordered. I want to know if anyone on this ship has ever been to that region before. Check their previous assignments, their family histories, anything that might connect them to that area of space. Amy nodded and hurried back to her station. Jake turned to Helen and Lisa. I want full sensor sweeps of the boundary. Use only human-built equipment. If alien technology stops working near that region, then maybe we will learn something our alien friends cannot. Over the next few hours, the crew worked frantically to gather data. The results were even more disturbing than Jake had expected. Their human sensors could penetrate the boundary easily and showed clear evidence of stellar activity inside the region. There were stars, planets, even what looked like artificial structures. But the moment they tried to use any alien-built technology to confirm the readings, the equipment would malfunction or show only empty space. Amy returned with crew records that made Jake's blood run cold. Every single member of his crew had family connections to that region of space. Parents who had served on classified missions. Grandparents whose service records were sealed. Brothers and sisters assigned to ships that officially did not exist. It was as if the entire crew had been carefully selected for this mission. Jake stood alone on the bridge as the night shift took over. The blank spot on the star map seemed to pulse with invisible energy, calling to him. Tomorrow he would give the order to investigate. Tomorrow they would fly into the void that every alien species ignored. Tomorrow they would discover why there was a hole in the galaxy right where humanity began. He had a feeling that once they crossed that boundary, nothing would ever be the same again. The U.S. Meridian moved through space toward the invisible boundary like a fish swimming toward the edge of an unknown ocean. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching the main display as they approached the coordinates where the blank spot began. Everything looked normal. Stars dotted the darkness ahead of them, just like any other region of space. But Jake knew that looks could be deceiving. Distance to boundary, 50,000 kilometers, announced Lieutenant Tim Rodriguez from the navigation station. Tim was a young officer, with black hair and steady hands, who had never failed to get the ship where it needed to go. Today, his voice carried a hint of nervousness that Jake had never heard before. Dr. Helen Carter monitored her instruments with the focus of a hawk, watching for prey. Her human-built sensors showed normal space ahead, but her alien equipment was beginning to act strangely. The Korath Deep Space Scanner kept displaying symbols that should not exist. The Zephyrian quantum detector was producing readings that made no mathematical sense. Commander, I am getting interference on all alien systems, Helen reported. The translation programs are trying to process languages that are not in any database. The navigation computers keep trying to plot courses to stars that should not be there. Amy Brooks sat at her station, surrounded by data screens showing alien star charts from dozens of different species. Every map showed the same thing, empty space ahead of them. But as they got closer to the boundary, something strange began to happen. The alien maps started to flicker and change. For brief moments, stars would appear on the displays before vanishing again, like ghosts. The alien databases are updating themselves, Amy said with confusion in her voice. I am seeing star systems appear and disappear on their maps. It is like the alien computers are trying to remember something but keep forgetting it immediately. Jake felt the hair on his arms stand up. Whatever was creating this effect was incredibly powerful. Technology that could make entire civilizations forget about whole regions of space was beyond anything humans had ever encountered. Yet something about it felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream from childhood. Distance to boundary. 10,000 kilometers, Tim announced. His hands moved across the controls with practiced skill, but Jake could see sweat on his forehead. The alien navigation systems were now completely useless, showing only error messages and scripts that hurt to look at. Captain Lisa Grant stood beside Jake, watching the tactical displays. Her training had taught her to expect the unexpected, but nothing had prepared her for equipment that simply forgot how to work. The alien weapon systems on their ship were powering down one by one as they approached the boundary. All alien military systems are going offline, Lisa reported. The Korath plasma cannons show no target data. The Zephyrian shield generators are displaying warnings I have never seen before. Only our human weapons are still functional. Jake made a decision that would change everything. All stop. Hold position here. The ship slowed to a halt just outside the invisible boundary. Jake studied the readings on his display and tried to understand what he was seeing. Their human sensors showed a normal region of space with stars and planets. The alien sensors showed nothing but empty void. It was as if two different realities existed in the same place. Launch a probe, Jake ordered. Use only human technology. I want to know what happens when we cross that line. Tim programmed a small reconnaissance probe and launched it toward the boundary. Jake watched the probe's signal on the main display as it moved forward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the probe crossed an invisible line and everything changed. The probe's human systems continued to function perfectly, sending back clear data about the space ahead. But every alien component on the probe simply stopped working, not broken or damaged, just stopped. As if they had suddenly forgotten what they were supposed to do. The probe is reporting normal space with multiple star systems, Helen announced. But look at this. She brought up the alien sensor data from the probe on the main screen. The displays showed only static and error messages. Jake stared at the readings and felt a chill run through him. Whatever was causing this effect was selective. It only affected alien technology while leaving human equipment untouched. That suggested intelligence behind the phenomenon, something that could tell the difference between human and alien technology, and chose to block only the alien systems. Commander, Amy called out from her station. I am detecting radio signals from inside the boundary. They appear to be human in origin. Jake spun around to face her. Human signals from where? Amy adjusted her controls and brought the signals up on the main display. The communications were definitely human, but they were using codes and frequencies that were not in any official database. The conversations she could decode mentioned facilities and operations that officially did not exist. There are hundreds of signals, Amy reported. Ship-to-ship communications, facility reports, cargo manifests. It is like there is a whole civilization in there that we never knew about. Jake felt the universe tilt around him, a hidden human civilization existing in a region of space that alien species could not even perceive. It was impossible, but the evidence was right in front of him. He thought about the crew records Amy had found, about how everyone on his ship had family connections to this region. Had they been chosen for this mission because they could be trusted with such a massive secret? Take us across the boundary, Jake ordered. Slow and steady. Monitor all systems. The Meridian moved forward again, crossing the invisible line that separated the known galaxy from whatever lay beyond. Jake expected alarms, explosions, or at least some dramatic change. Instead, the transition was surprisingly gentle. One moment they were in normal space, the next they were somewhere that should not exist. The main display updated to show their new surroundings, and Jake's mouth fell open. Where empty space should have been, dozens of stars blazed in the darkness. Planets orbited those stars and artificial structures moved between them. But the most shocking sight was the massive space station, floating directly ahead of them. The station was clearly of human construction, but it was larger than any human facility Jake had ever seen. Ships moved around it like busy insects, all of them bearing human design features but with technology that looked decades ahead of anything in the official fleet. The station's hull was marked with symbols Jake recognized as human military codes, but the numbers made no sense, according to standard records. "Incoming transmission," announced Kate Wilson from the communications station. Kate was a tall woman, with red hair, who had never met a signal she could not decode. Today her face showed amazement as she processed the message. "They are hailing us using standard human protocols," Kate reported. "The signal is coming from that station. They are identifying themselves as Deep Space Research Facility, Omega-7, and they say they have been expecting us." Jake felt his world shift again, expecting them. How could anyone be expecting a ship that had stumbled into a region that was supposed to be empty space? He thought about the crew selection, the mysterious family connections, the way this mission had been assigned. Had someone planned for them to discover this place? "Open a channel," Jake ordered. His voice was steady, but his mind raced with questions. The main screen shifted to show a man in a human military uniform that Jake did not recognize. The man appeared to be in his 50s with gray hair and calm eyes that seemed to know too many secrets. Behind him, Jake could see technology that looked like something from a dream of the far future. "Welcome to Omega-7, Commander Morrison," the man said with a slight smile. "My name is Director Paul Stevens. We have been waiting for you to find us for quite some time. Permission to come aboard. I think it is time you learned the truth about where humanity really comes from." Director Paul Stevens stepped onto the bridge of the UES Meridian, and Jake Morrison felt as if he was meeting a ghost. The man looked completely human, but there was something about him that felt different, as if he carried the weight of secrets that could reshape the galaxy. Stevens wore a uniform that resembled human military dress, but with symbols and ranks that Jake had never seen in any official manual. "Commander Morrison," Stevens said, while extending his hand. "Thank you for accepting our invitation. I know this must be confusing, but I promise that everything will make sense soon." Jake shook the offered hand and found Stevens' grip firm and warm. Real flesh and blood. Not some alien imposter or holographic trick. But the man's eyes held depths that spoke of knowledge spanning centuries, far more than any normal human should possess. "Director Stevens, I have to ask the obvious question," Jake said. "What is this place? Our maps show empty space, but we are looking at a massive space station and dozens of ships. How is any of this possible?" Stevens smiled and gestured toward the main display, which showed the bustling activity around Omega-7. Ships of clearly human design, but with sleek lines and energy signatures that surpassed anything in the official fleet, moved between structures that seemed to bend space around themselves. "What you are seeing is the truth that we have hidden from the galaxy for almost 1,000 years, Stevens replied. "The region you call the blank spot contains over 10,000 star systems, worlds that have been settled and developed by human civilization, while the rest of the galaxy believed we were primitive newcomers struggling with basic space travel." Amy Brooks stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her shock. "That's impossible. Human space exploration only began 300 years ago. We have detailed records of first contact with alien species, our expansion into nearby systems, everything. How could there be a hidden empire that we never knew about?" Stevens nodded as if he had expected the question. "The records you have are accurate, Lieutenant Brooks, but they only tell part of the story. The humans who made first contact with alien species were indeed explorers from a small collection of outer rim colonies, but they were not the first humans to reach the stars." He walked over to the main display and touched the surface. The image shifted to show a star map unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Thousands of systems glowed with the symbols of human colonies, trade routes, industrial centers, and military installations. The scale was overwhelming, representing a civilization that dwarfed every known alien empire combined. "Welcome to the core worlds," Stevens said. "This is what humanity really looks like when we are not pretending to be primitive newcomers." Dr. Helen Carter studied the readings from her instruments and shook her head in amazement. "The energy output from these systems is incredible. You would need technology centuries ahead of our current capabilities to support this many colonies. How did you develop such advanced science without anyone knowing?" Stevens gestured for them to follow him toward the shuttle bay. "That is a question best answered with a proper tour. Your ship is welcome to dock at Omega 7. I think you will find our facilities quite impressive." As they moved through the corridors of the Meridian, Jake noticed that Stevens seemed completely familiar with the ship's layout. The man walked with the confidence of someone who had been aboard many similar vessels, even though the Meridian was supposed to be a unique prototype using the latest human technology. "You seem to know your way around our ship," Jake observed. Stevens paused and looked back with that knowing smile. "Commander, I helped design the Meridian. In fact, most of the technology you consider cutting-edge human engineering actually originated here in the core worlds. We have been carefully feeding advanced designs to the outer colonies for decades." The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. If Stevens was telling the truth, then everything he thought he knew about human civilization was a lie. The ship, he commanded, the technology he trusted, even his own career might be part of some vast deception that stretched across centuries. They boarded a shuttle that looked like it had been built using principles Jake did not understand. The hull seemed to ripple with energy patterns that his eyes could not quite focus on, and the engine produced no sound or vibration despite moving them through space at impossible speeds. Omega 7 grew larger as they approached, revealing details that defied everything Jake knew about human engineering. The station was not just big, it was enormous, stretching for hundreds of kilometers in all directions. Sections of it seemed to exist in folded space that allowed structures to occupy the same coordinates without interfering with each other. "How many people live here?" Captain Lisa Grant asked as she stared out the shuttle's viewport. "Omega 7 houses about 12 million permanent residents," Stevens replied casually. "It is one of our smaller facilities. The main administrative center at Alpha Prime has a population of over 2 billion. Jake felt his mind struggling to process the numbers. Billions of humans living in hidden space stations, while the galaxy believed humanity controlled only a few dozen primitive colonies. The scale of the deception was beyond anything he had imagined possible. The shuttle docked at a bay that bustled with activity. Humans in uniforms Jake did not recognize worked, alongside robots that moved with fluid grace. The technology was so advanced it looked like magic, but the people operating it were clearly human in every way that mattered. Stevens led them through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Jake caught glimpses of laboratories where scientists worked with forces that warped reality around their instruments, gardens that existed in bubbles of compressed space where entire ecosystems thrived in areas no larger than a closet, meeting rooms where holographic displays showed star maps spanning half the galaxy. "This is incredible," Amy whispered as they passed a viewing port that looked out onto a construction yard where ships were being built using fields of pure energy. "How long has this been going on?" "The first core world colonies were established about 800 years ago," Stevens explained. "We discovered the barrier technology in the ruins of an ancient alien civilization. They called themselves the predecessors, and they had perfected the art of hiding entire star systems from galactic perception. They entered a vast chamber where a holographic display showed the history of human expansion. Jake watched images of early colonists discovering alien ruins, scientists learning to replicate advanced technology, and leaders making the decision to keep humanity's true capabilities secret from the rest of the galaxy. Why hide? Jake asked. With this level of technology, humanity could have dominated the galaxy centuries ago. Stevens turned to face him with an expression that mixed pride and sadness, because domination was never the goal, Commander. The predecessors left behind records of what happened to civilizations that revealed their full power too early. They attracted attention from forces that were better left sleeping, so we chose the path of patience. He gestured to another display that showed current galactic politics. Jake recognized the major alien empires, trade agreements, and military alliances that shaped interstellar relations. But overlaid on the normal diplomatic map were subtle indicators of human influence that had been invisible until now. For 8 centuries, we have guided galactic development from the shadows, Stevens continued, preventing wars that would have devastated entire sectors, sharing technology through indirect channels to help other species advance safely, watching and waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves. Jake studied the evidence before him and realized that almost every major galactic event in the past few centuries showed signs of hidden human involvement. Peace treaties that appeared to be alien initiatives but contained suspiciously human diplomatic language. Technological breakthroughs that happened just when they were needed most. Military conflicts that ended through mysterious interventions that no species claimed responsibility for. You have been manipulating the entire galaxy, Lisa said with a mix of admiration and horror in her voice. Protecting it, Stevens corrected. The galaxy is more fragile than most species realize. Without careful guidance, the various empires would have destroyed themselves in countless innocent worlds long ago. We have been the invisible hand keeping civilization stable. Jake felt the weight of centuries of human achievement and sacrifice settling on his shoulders. His people had not just hidden from the galaxy, they had become its secret guardians. The implications were staggering, and the responsibility was almost too much to comprehend. But why reveal this to us now? He asked. Why break 800 years of secrecy? Stevens' expression grew grave, and he activated another display that showed deep space sensor readings. The images were dark and filled with ominous energy signatures that seemed to devour light itself. Because something is coming that requires us to step out of the shadows, Stevens said quietly. Something that even the predecessors feared. The time for hiding may be over sooner than we hoped. Admiral Susan Hayes walked into the secure briefing room deep within. Omega-7 and Jake Morrison felt the temperature in the room drop several degrees. The woman radiated authority like a star radiated heat, and her eyes held the kind of cold calculation that came from making decisions that affected billions of lives. She wore the uniform of the core world's fleet, with insignia that suggested rank far above anything in the outer colonies. Commander Morrison, Admiral Hayes said, while taking her seat at the head of a conference table that seemed to be made from a single piece of crystallized starlight. Director Stevens tells me that you and your crew have adapted well to learning the truth about humanity. That is good because we need people who can handle difficult realities. Jake took his seat, along with the other members of his senior staff. The briefing room was filled with holographic displays, showing star charts, energy readings, and tactical analyses that painted a picture of galactic-scale danger. Whatever had prompted humanity to consider revealing itself after 8 centuries of secrecy was serious enough to threaten everything they had built. Admiral, Director Stevens mentioned something coming that the predecessors feared, Jake said. What exactly are we facing? Hayes activated the main display, and the room filled with images that made Jake's blood run cold. Dark shapes moved through space, leaving trails of absolute nothingness behind them. Where stars had once blazed, only empty void remained. Entire solar systems had been reduced to cosmic dust that drifted like the ashes of burned dreams. We call them the Devourers, Hayes said in a voice that carried the weight of inevitable doom. They are not a species in any sense we understand. They are entropy given form, destruction with purpose, the end of everything that exists made manifest in our reality. Dr. Helen Carter leaned forward to study the sensor readings that accompanied the images. Her scientific mind tried to make sense of data that seemed to violate every law of physics she had ever learned. Energy signatures that showed negative mass, gravitational fields that moved backward through time, quantum structures that existed in states of impossible contradiction. These readings make no sense, Helen said, while adjusting her instruments. According to this data, these entities are not just destroying matter, they are erasing the fundamental forces that hold reality together. How is that even possible? Admiral Hayes touched the display and brought up ancient records, written in symbols that hurt to look at directly. The text had been translated from predecessor archives, but the meaning was clear enough to chill the soul. The predecessors called them the final hunger, Hayes explained. They appear every few million years, emerging from the spaces between galaxies to consume advanced civilizations. They are drawn to complex technology and sophisticated cultures like predators, drawn to the scent of prey. Amy Brooks studied the historical data with the focused intensity of an archaeologist uncovering the secrets of a lost civilization. The patterns she found in the ancient records painted a picture of cyclical destruction that stretched back across cosmic ages. According to these files, they have consumed entire galactic civilizations before, Amy reported. The predecessors mentioned dozens of species that reached technological advancement far beyond our current level, only to vanish completely when the devourers found them. Jake felt a chill of understanding creep up his spine. If the were attracted to advanced civilizations, then humanity's hidden empire represented exactly the kind of target they would seek. The core worlds with their reality-bending technology and vast population centers would shine like beacons in the cosmic darkness. The predecessors developed the barrier technology specifically to hide from the devourers, Admiral Hayes continued. They managed to remain concealed for millions of years, but eventually even their perfect hiding was not enough. The devourers found them in the end. She brought up images of dead worlds that had once been predecessor strongholds. Cities that had been home to billions were now empty ruins, where the very atoms had forgotten how to hold together. Technology that had once shaped space and time lay scattered like broken toys in the cosmic wind. What happened to them? Captain Lisa Grant asked, though Jake suspected she already knew the answer. Complete erasure, Hayes replied. Not just death, but elimination from existence itself. The devourers did not just destroy predecessor civilization. They removed it from the timeline so thoroughly that we only found traces of their existence in quantum echoes hidden in collapsed dimensions. Jake studied the tactical displays and tried to understand the scale of the threat they were facing. The predecessor civilization had been advanced enough to hide entire galactic sectors from perception. Yet they had still fallen to the devourers. What hope did humanity have against enemies that could erase civilizations from existence itself? How do we know they are coming back? Jake asked, though part of him did not want to hear the answer. Admiral Hayes activated a new set of displays, showing recent deep space sensor readings from the core world's most advanced monitoring stations. The data showed disturbances in the fabric of space itself, ripples of destruction moving through the cosmic void like the wake of some vast and terrible ship. Our long-range sensors detected the first signs 6 months ago, Hayes explained. Reality distortions in the space between galaxies that match predecessor descriptions of devourer approach patterns. They are still far away, but they are definitely coming toward our galaxy. Dr. Helen Carter ran calculations on the sensor data, and her face went pale as she processed the results. Based on these distortion patterns, I estimate they will reach the outer edge of the galaxy in less than 50 years. At their current rate of consumption, they could devour every inhabited system within 2 centuries. Jake felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on his shoulders like a mountain made of lead. Humanity had hidden from the galaxy for 8 centuries, becoming its secret guardians and protectors. Now they faced an enemy that could destroy everything they had sworn to protect. "What are our options?" Jake asked, though he suspected the answers would not be comforting. Admiral Hayes brought up displays showing the current state of galactic civilization. Hundreds of species spread across thousands of systems, most of them completely unaware of the coming threat. Their combined military forces would barely register as a minor annoyance to entities that had consumed civilizations spanning multiple galaxies. "The galaxy as it currently exists has no chance against the Devourers," Hayes said bluntly. "The various alien empires have spent centuries fighting each other instead of preparing for real threats. Their technology is centuries behind what they would need to mount any kind of effective defense." She touched the display again and brought up battle simulations that showed the likely outcome of conventional warfare against the Every scenario ended with the complete destruction of all known civilizations within a matter of decades. However, Hayes continued, "There is one possibility. If we reveal the true extent of human civilization and unite every species in the galaxy under a single command structure, we might have enough combined resources to mount a defense." Jake studied the fleet compositions and population estimates that such a union would represent. Trillions of beings working together with technology, spanning from primitive chemical rockets to reality-warping core world systems. The logistics alone would be staggering, but the alternative was extinction for every thinking creature in the galaxy. "You are talking about revealing 800 years of secrecy," Jake said. "The alien species will feel betrayed, manipulated, lead to. Some of them will probably declare war on humanity before they even understand the real threat." "Almost certainly," Admiral Hayes agreed. "But the alternative is watching them all die while we hide behind our barriers. The predecessors tried that approach, and it only delayed their destruction, not prevented it." Jake looked around the briefing room at his crew and saw his own thoughts reflected in their faces. They had come here expecting to solve a simple navigation mystery and instead had discovered that their species carried the responsibility for protecting an entire galaxy from cosmic-scale destruction. "There is something else you need to understand," Admiral Hayes said while bringing up one final display. "The decision has already been made. 3 days ago, a Devourer scout probe breached the outer territories and consumed the Altair colony, before vanishing back into deep space. The probe's scanning patterns suggest it detected something unusual about this galaxy, something that does not match their previous targets." Jake felt his heart stop as the implications hit him. If the Dev had already sent scouts, then the invasion was no longer a distant threat. It was happening now, and humanity's time for hiding was over whether they wanted it to be or not. "We estimate we have less than 5 years to prepare the galaxy for full-scale invasion," Admiral Hayes concluded. "Operation Daybreak begins in 72 hours. We are going to lower the barriers and show the galaxy what humanity really looks like. After that, it will be up to people like you to help us convince every species that their survival depends on working together." The barriers that had hidden humanity's true civilization for 8 centuries began to fall at exactly 800 Galactic Standard Time on a Tuesday that would be remembered as the day the universe changed forever. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of what he now knew was the UES Meridian Command, a vessel whose true capabilities had been hidden even from its own crew, and watched 10,000 star systems appear on galactic maps like flowers blooming in an impossible garden. Across the galaxy, alien species stared at their displays in shock, as entire sectors of space that had been empty voids suddenly blazed with the light of human civilization. The Korath Empire's War Council fell silent as their tactical computers struggled to process the appearance of a human fleet that outnumbered their entire military by a factor of 50 to 1. The philosophical Zephyrians held emergency sessions to debate how their understanding of reality could have been so completely wrong. Communication channels are lighting up across all alien networks. reported Kate Wilson from her expanded communications station. The array of monitoring equipment around her position had grown dramatically once the ship's true systems had been revealed. I am receiving everything from formal diplomatic inquiries to what appeared to be panic broadcasts from some of the smaller species. Admiral Susan Hayes materialized as a hologram on the bridge, transmitted from the massive command vessel that served as flagship for the core world's fleet. Behind her, Jake could see tactical displays showing the positions of human forces that had been hidden throughout the galaxy for centuries. "Status report, Admiral Morrison," Hayes said, using Jake's new rank for the first time. The promotion had come with the revelation that his entire career had been carefully managed to prepare him for this moment. Jake still felt uncomfortable with the new insignia on his uniform, but he understood the necessity of maintaining command structure during such a massive transition. "All barriers are down in our sector. Human colonies are reporting successful reveals across 17 star systems. Initial alien reactions range from confusion to outright hostility." The main display showed incoming reports from across human space as the truth was revealed to species that had never suspected they were living next to the galaxy's most advanced civilization. Some alien governments immediately demanded explanations for centuries of deception. Others began mobilizing their fleets for what they assumed would be a defensive war against human expansion. Dr. Helen Carter monitored the quantum resonance patterns that had kept the barrier stable for so long. "The field collapse is proceeding exactly as predicted," she reported. "Reality distortions are minimal and civilian. Populations are adapting to the new stellar configurations without major psychological trauma." Jake had worried about the effect on alien minds when entire star systems suddenly appeared in regions they had always perceived as empty space. But human psychologists working with predecessor technology had designed the revelation process to feel natural, as if the hidden systems had always been there and people were just now remembering them. Amy Brooks coordinated with some archaeologists across the core worlds as they began the delicate process of making contact with alien governments. "The Zephyrian Council has agreed to receive Ambassador Chen at their capital world," she reported. "The Korath Empire is being more difficult. They are demanding proof that we are actually human and not some unknown alien species using disguise technology." Jake understood their suspicion. The scale of human civilization that was being revealed challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about technological development and stellar engineering. Massive orbital habitats that housed billions of people, industrial complexes that could manufacture entire fleets in a matter of weeks, research facilities that experimented with the fundamental forces of creation itself. Captain Lisa Grant monitored the tactical situation as alien fleets moved into defensive positions around their core worlds. "The Korath 7th Fleet is approaching the border of the Tau Ceti system," she reported. "They appear to be conducting reconnaissance rather than preparing for immediate attack, but their weapons are powered and ready." Jake made a decision that would have been impossible just days earlier. Signal the Korath fleet. Invite them to send representatives aboard for a demonstration of our capabilities. It is time they understood exactly what humanity has been doing for the past 8 centuries. The next few hours passed in a blur of diplomatic communications, tactical adjustments, and cultural exchanges that would reshape galactic civilization. Jake found himself serving as a bridge between the hidden human empire and the alien species who were struggling to understand their new reality. The Korath delegation that came aboard the Meridian Command consisted of military officers whose warrior culture had taught them to respect strength above all else. Jake led them through sections of the ship that demonstrated human technological advancement in ways that could not be dismissed or explained away. General Korth, the delegation's leader, examined a human gravity manipulator that could create localized fields of altered space-time. His translators struggled with concepts that had no equivalent in Korath science. This device appears to violate several fundamental laws of physics, he said through the mechanical voice of his translation unit. Not violate, Jake corrected. Transcend. We learned these techniques from studying predecessor ruins scattered throughout this galaxy. The same ruins that your people have been excavating for centuries without understanding their true significance. He showed them recordings of human archaeologists working at sites the Korath had declared too dangerous or too complex to investigate. Devices that had been mysteries to alien science for millennia were revealed to be components of larger systems that humanity had learned to operate and improve upon. The real breakthrough came when Jake revealed the true threat that had prompted humanity to abandon 8 centuries of secrecy. The holographic displays showed Devourer scout probes moving through the galactic rim, reality distortions that marked the approach of cosmic predators, and projections of what would happen to every inhabited world if the galaxy remained divided. Your people face the same extinction that consumed the predecessors, Jake explained, while showing tactical analyses of Devourer capabilities. No single species has the resources to mount an effective defense, but together, with human technology supporting a united galactic military, we might have a chance. General Korth studied the data with the experienced eye of a soldier who had fought in dozens of interstellar conflicts. The scale of the threat was beyond anything in Korth military history, but the logic of unity was undeniable. What do you propose? He asked. Jake activated a display, showing the organizational structure of the proposed Galactic Defense Coalition. Representatives from every species would serve on a unified command council. But the technological backbone would be provided by human systems that had been perfected over centuries of hidden development. Full integration, Jake said. Shared technology, combined fleets, coordinated defense strategies. Humanity will provide the advanced systems that can actually damage the Devourers. But we need every species contributing their unique strengths to the effort. Over the following weeks, similar negotiations took place with dozens of alien governments. Some species embraced the alliance immediately, recognizing the necessity of cooperation in the face of cosmic-scale extinction. Others required more convincing, demanding proof of human intentions and guarantees of continued independence. The breakthrough moment came when a second Devourer scout probe appeared in the Rigel system and began consuming one of the outer planets. The alien observers who witnessed the attack saw matter and energy simply ceasing to exist, leaving behind a void that seemed to devour light itself. The probe vanished before any defensive action could be taken, but its message was clear. Jake stood in the command center of Alpha Prime, the massive space station that served as capital for the hidden human empire, and watched representatives from 47 different species sign the Galactic Defense Accord. The document committed every signatory to full military cooperation under human technological leadership. Admiral Hayes approached him as the ceremony concluded. "It is done," she said quietly. "For better or worse, humanity is no longer hidden. We are now the acknowledged guardians of galactic civilization." Jake nodded while studying tactical displays that showed the combined resources now available for defense against the coming invasion. Human shipyards were already retooling to produce vessels that could be operated by alien crews using human weapon systems. Training facilities were being established to teach alien officers how to fight enemies that could erase matter from existence. "The Devourers will not find us as easy prey as the predecessors," Jake said with determination. "We have learned from their mistakes, and we have something they never had." "What is that?" Admiral Hayes asked. Jake gestured toward the diplomatic chambers, where human and alien representatives were working together to plan the defense of everything they held dear. "Unity. The predecessors tried to hide from the darkness. We are going to stand together and fight it." The main display shifted to show long-range sensors detecting massive disturbances at the edge of the galaxy. The Devourers were coming in force, bringing with them the power to unmake stars and erase civilizations from the cosmic record. But this time they would face not scattered, primitive species, fighting alone, but a united galaxy led by the children of Earth, who had spent 8 centuries preparing for this moment. The blank spot on every star map had been filled in at last, revealing humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, hope in the face of absolute darkness. The time for hiding was over, and the real war for survival was about to begin.